In Part 2 of Lecture 3, we will look at the next two attempts to write the date class. Let's assume for the moment that we have these methods declared. Public double my method, public string your method, public void our method. My method and your method both will always return a double in the case of my method and a string in the case of your method. Our method is a different story. The data type listed here is void. Void methods do not return a value, but all three of these will perform some action. When we invoke a method, a set of instructions are going to be performed using properties belonging to the object in question. Object1.myMethod uses the property values that belong to object1. If I had instead object2.myMethod, the data that it would use would belong to object2. When we talk about an object owning a particular method, what we're talking about is an instance of this method existing where it will by default use or have available for it to use all of the properties belonging to that particular object. If I have another object of the same class also calling the same method, the data that it will be using will belong to that other class. Now that we know that a method belonging to a certain object can use that object's private data, let's try to write a new version of the class date. Import Java util scanner, public class date second try, open brace. We declare its properties. Private string month, private int day, private int year, with a comment reminding us it's a 4-digit number. And now we define the method writeOutput, beginning with a comment. Write the date in a proper format. Public void writeOutput, open and close parenthesis, open brace. System.out.println, open parenthesis, month, plus, quote, blank quote, plus day, plus, quote, comma, blank quote, plus year, close parenthesis, semicolon, close brace to end the method. Our next method is readInput, with a comment, read a date from the keyboard. Public void readInput, open close parenthesis, open brace. We have to set up a scanner object, scanner, keyboard equals new scanner, open parenthesis, system.in, close parenthesis, semicolon. And now another comment that we're going to prompt the user for the month, day, and year, and then read them. System.out.println month, month equals keyboard.next. This being a string, we use this method, which will read in a character string up until the next white space. System.out.println day, day equals keyboard.nextInt. System.out.println year, year equals keyboard.nextInt. These properties are private, meaning that no method outside of the class itself can access it or change it. Therefore, we're going to write methods that will do that for us. We start with getDay, which has a comment that says allows you to get the day property. Public int getDay, and inside the braces, return day. Now we're going to do something like that with getYear, and the comment says allows you to get the year property. Public int getYear, return year. Before we look at getMonth, let's stop and take a look at what we have here. The month is normally saved as a string, but there are a good number of times that we will want to represent it by a number. GetMonth allows us to do that. It begins with a comment, returns the month as a number. We begin the method with public int getMonth, and then we go to work. If month equals January, return 1. If month equals February, return 2. If month equals March, return 3. If month equals April, return 4. If month equals May, return 5. If month equals June, return 6. If month equals July, return 7. If month equals August, return 8. If month equals September, return 9. If month equals October, return 10. If month equals November, return 11. If month equals December, return 12. Let's say that the string we read in doesn't correspond to the name of a real month. In that case, we'll reach this else. System out println fatal error, not a valid month. Since it isn't valid, we are going to terminate the program. System.exit 0, and the compiler is going to insist that we add at the end return 0. Now you'll notice that in the earlier slides we did not use else in any of these cases. The reason is that since we are returning a value if the condition is true, the only way we would reach the next statement is if the condition from the previous statement was false. By now we've seen that the main method can have variables that are its own, and these are available for its exclusive use. But that can also be true of other methods within the class. Let's take a look at what the driver method is going to look like to allow us to test this class. Let's test date second try by writing the class test second date. We begin with the header public class second date. We begin the method with public static void main string args. We declare the object by writing date second try date equals new date second try. Now that the object has been constructed, we're ready to get going. We are going to initialize date, as the comment says, and then date.readInput. ReadInput is a void method. It does not have a return value. Therefore, the only thing we're going to have here is the actual call of it. There's no equal sign. There's no assignment. Now we'll do something a little different. Int day number equals date get day. Get day does have a return type. Therefore, there is a result that we will have available to assign to day number. Lastly, system out println, that is the plus day number plus th space day of the month. Now we close the brace for the method and the brace for the class. Our second try let us read in values for our properties. It also allowed us to access their values separately. In this third try, we're going to also come up with a way to get new values for these properties without necessarily having to read them from the keyboard. This is built on the previous method, and you'll see that only the new code is in boldface. We'll have a different header now, public class date first try. Now we have a method setDate that will set proper values for all three of our properties. Public void setDate, int new month, int new day, int new year. And after the closed parenthesis, we have an open brace. Month equals month string new month, day equals new day, year equals new year. You can see here the local variables that in this case also are formal parameters, getting their value from whichever method calls them. Now we have month string that will allow us to give a number and return the name of the month associated with that number. One for January, 2 February, and so on. We begin with a comment, returns a string for the month specified in numerical format. Public string month string, int month number. And in here we have a switch statement. Switch month number, and then after the brace, case 1 return January, case 2 return February, and so on through case 12 return December, and then the default, if it's not one of those numbers, system out println fatal error, not a valid month. System exit 0 and return error, and 2 close braces, one for the switch and one for the method. We now have, again, the definition for write output. It is worth noting that in this version of the class date, read input, get day, get year, and get month will all be the same. Now we see get year and get month. They both now also remain the same. Now let's write a program called test third date, which will allow us to see if the new version of the class works correctly. Public class test third date, and inside it public static void main string args. Date third try date equals new date third try. Int year equals 1882. Now we'll call date set date 6, 17, year, and date write output. We've passed on these actual parameter values to the formal parameters of set date. And then we're going to print them. And you see below the output, June 17th, 1882.